The plant-based morning show brought to you by Compliment. I am Doug Hay. Matt Frazier will be joining us here shortly. Today we have another very fun show. We're going to be talking about Taco Day. We're going to be talking about vegan Lunchables. How cool is that? The FDA, the new kind of FDA suggestions around labeling vegan options at Sonic. This is going to be a fun one. I'm excited to be live yet again with this crew. And let's see, I just added Matt in here. We are also live on multiple platforms. Hey, Matt, how's it going?
Hey, pretty good, Doug. We are live on multiple platforms.
We are live on what? Facebook, Instagram, of course.
Yep, including my personal Facebook. So hello, high school friends and relatives who I don't really talk to very much, and all those people. We're on Twitch now, Doug. That's the big
Twitch
news today. Yep.
Oh, that is huge news.
We're talking to the gamer crowd, maybe.
Okay.
I'm going to reintroduce some FIFA content back into this.
Excellent.
Maybe stream some games.
Yep, and YouTube too as well, I think. So we're all over the place. We are
all over the place today. So that is fun, growing quickly. Don't forget, if you're listening on any of these channels, we are a podcast. It's actually where a lot more activity happens than the lives, believe it or not. As far as downloads, we're over 5,000 downloads there, Doug, already. Maybe 50 or almost 6,000 already in only a week or so.
Cool.
But anyway, that's called the Plant-Based Morning Show. Wherever you listen to podcasts, if you look that up, you should find it. So yeah, please subscribe there, and you'll be able to never miss an episode, even when you can't make it live.
I Matt, every day I don't re-listen to the episodes, but I do listen to your intro to the episodes, and they just get better and better. You're a natural. I love it.
But yeah, why do you listen to just that part?
Well, because I lived the episode. I don't need to.
Okay, but you like to hear the part that you didn't.
Yeah, I just like to see how you're setting it up.
Okay.
Interesting. So,
I end up listening to most of the episodes at least once, sometimes twice, because different family members want to hear them. But and also so that we can get better. I think it really does help me get better. Yeah. Just learning how to do this format. So anyway, Doug, first and foremost today, National Taco Day.
Happy Taco Day.
Are you aware of that?
I wasn't, and it's unfortunate because I had tacos last night.
Okay, that's a little bit ahead. That's all right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I'm excited about Taco Day. I love tacos. It is Tuesday. Taco Tuesday was my jam for all throughout college. I went to the Boone Saloon. Shout out to Boone Saloon for Taco Tuesday.
Wow. And, okay. Nice little shout out.
Yeah, and I just taco.
Yeah, I'm sure. I know you do. I was ready to actually say that I know you love burritos and tacos, because when I come to dinner at your house, it's been burritos, I think probably 2 out of 3 times. So I just assume you're a burrito guy, or tacos, same thing, right? It's all
sure,
very similar food. Yeah, and I am a Taco Bell fan, and
mostly because Taco Bell fan. Yeah.
I definitely am. I mean, I'm a huge advocate of Taco Bell and their vegan options. Very easy to go make their menu vegan. Just order fresco style and sub black beans or refried beans, and they'll make almost anything they have can be made vegan that way. So I'm a big fan of that. Speaking of which, we've got some other fast food news today we're going to get to, Doug. And let's see, there's a few other. Oh, you know what? I wanted to go back to. We talked last week about this animal-free dairy thing that's coming out.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, people are. I'm sorry to interrupt. People are just asking all these taco questions all of a sudden.
We can't move on from tacos. I mean, we're just getting started with tacos.
I'm nervous. We got the multi-stream. I didn't want to let down my high school friends and make them think I was just talking about tacos and stuff. But you know what? Let's just do it. Let's embrace it.
All right. First of all, shout out to Deadwing for joining today for the first time live. Love that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Love to get those live numbers up.
Yeah.
All right. So Aaron wants to know, Doug, what do you love more, tacos or vegan meat products?
I know the answer. Easy question. Vegan meat products in the taco.
Right,
I mean, that's what kind of question is that, Aaron? Come on. Last night, actually, we had sweet potato tacos, but we added a bit of those. We talked about them on yesterday's show, the Gardein beef tips or
yeah, right.
Like that.
Oh, you had those?
I'd never had them before. We had them last night for the first time, and
you went out and got them after we talked about them.
No, apparently Katie bought them this weekend, and I didn't even realize it.
Okay.
So we had them stocked in the freezer. I saw them. I said, "We're throwing these in the tacos," and they were okay. They weren't like, it wasn't one of those where I took a bite and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing," but but they were good. They added some nice texture.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Beyond Meat ones. My guess is they're gonna be much more amazing.
Yeah.
Just because that stuff tends to be better than the Gardein stuff. But who knows? Uh, not a bigger question, but an important question. Plant-based Lucy says, "What are your favorite preferred tortillas?" And this is a divisive question. I don't think
Mm.
there's not enough. There aren't enough arguments over this, in my opinion, because it really is it is an important thing. Uh, I'm far prefer the corn tortilla, soft corn tortilla. I mean, I'm fine with crunchy too, but
Hmm.
to me, compared to a wheat tortilla, it's just no contest. It just has
Yep.
this authentic taste. I don't really know what they eat in Mexico when you get tacos. My experience from when I was younger eating tacos there, and even more recently, this past summer we went there, Doug. Uh, it was corn tortillas. It mostly always was corn, and I just
Yeah.
think that's just the way to do it.
I think flour is an option in certain parts of Mexico, but corn, small corn tortillas, soft tortillas is probably the more common thing. And certainly it's my go-to, especially if I'm trying to make like more authentic tacos, not a burrito or something like that. But I
Right.
will say, as you know, I'm a lover of corn chips,
Oh
tortilla
yeah,
chips,
I do
and
know that.
so a good crunchy hard shell taco is it like brings back a lot of happiness for me. So
Sure, it does.
um,
I love the hard shell taco as well. Have you ever made your own corn tortillas, Doug? Have you ever gone down that road?
not recently. I have in the past, yeah. When
Okay.
after it was one of those things where like when I lived in Costa Rica for a while in high school, we lived there for 6 months, came home with a corn tortilla press, and I was like making them all
Yeah.
the time for the family and doing that whole thing, and I've kind of
Yeah.
fallen out of it. But
I
yeah.
went on the exact same journey. It was not from going to Costa Rica, but reading about the Costa Rican blue zone of Nisoya
Mm,
in blue zones. And apparently, it was picture was painted there that they only eat corn, beans, and squash, and that was the only foods they eat. And I said, okay, I'm gonna try to do that, and I'm gonna
yeah,
eat
that's
only
definitely not
that
true. That's
for a
definitely not
while
true.
and see how it goes. So I got a tortilla press, started pressing it. I mean, they were delicious for sure.
Hmm.
But I mean, relatively speaking, a tremendous amount of energy compared to just buying a stack of 500 of them and putting it in my refrigerator. And they were better, but it was too easy to buy the stack.
All right. So how do you keep your corn tortillas from falling apart? Double up. That's my tip.
I just think you need to heat it enough. If it's not heated properly, it's going to crumble. But if you put it on a nice cast iron skillet, doubling up is
Hmm.
good though. I've done that before. Got into that mode for a while. I was always doubling up the corn tortillas. You could do
I
Taco
think
Bell
that's
style
actually
where you
pretty authentic as well. Like that's fairly common in Mexico to get a
okay.
double tortilla taco, at least
Well,
from my
Taco Bell
experience.
solution was to put a layer of refried beans and then attach it to a hard shell taco. Uh, So then if it crumbles, it doesn't really because it's stuck to it, so it doesn't fall apart. But it's also the reinforcement.
Yeah,
Uh,
it is.
so I love to talk about how they recombine the same ingredients. Uh, all
And
right.
then we have one more. Plant-based Lucy says Tortilla Familia has mail order tortillas, including beetroot, prickly pear, turmeric, and they're pretty darn good.
Wow.
And that
Okay.
sounds pretty good. Yeah.
That does sound good. Sounds pretty serious. Okay. So that's National Taco Day. It's also National Vodka Day. We're not going to do a vodka discussion, or it's also Cinnamon
I'm
Monday.
very
It's
contribute to that one.
Okay. So anyway, last week we were talking about animal-free dairy. This idea that they are using lab microbe stuff ferment. I honestly don't remember what the details are. There's all these different high-tech things now. But they are copying the DNA sequencing or what I'm just making up science terms now, but they're copying that from dairy and they are using microbes to make the dairy, but
Yeah.
it's entirely animal-free. So it's kind of interesting. I actually happened to just order some from California something company. I wanted to try it mostly for my son. He's been into protein powder recently. He's been using Huel, the perfect food sort of meal replacement
Oh yeah.
thing.
Mhm.
So anyway, now that we've sort of broached that, and he's taking something that isn't just complement, he's mixing in the complement protein as well because he wants to get that amino acid balance. But anyway, we figured we'd try this. So I ordered some. But my mom sent me something from Danielle Bellardo, who is an Instagram / or influencer / doctor. She's a very popular Instagrammer. But she's been talking all about this recently, and she's a big fan of this animal-free whey protein. So, and by the way, for those who don't know, I mean, it is vegan. It is not a non-vegan product that we did by ordering that, or not a non-vegan thing we're done by ordering that. It is no animals are involved. But anyway, so Bellardo was saying this on her Twitter. And then someone wrote in, scientist with a board, I guess, he wrote the DNA that was used to engineer the microbes initially from the animals. So without the DNA structure coding to produce whey, this product would not exist. I understand that the company themselves may not have used the database may have used the database for coding animals and did not directly use the animals, but animals were still involved in the entire process to create this protein. Would you agree? So she disagrees with that. I'm not sure why, because I think it is true. But I'm just curious, like, does that unveganize this product? The fact that it is known by science what the DNA sequence is of whey protein, and they, and had to at some point be gotten from an animal, could have happened, I guess, as early as they were doing DNA sequencing. That's when that information happened.
Yeah.
Is that make this not vegan? I mean, I don't know.
So I find this absolutely ridiculous. This is the perfect worst vegan guy ever statement.
Right. This is like our friend. For those who don't know, we have a friend named worst vegan guy ever, who now and then we reach out to for comment.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that we're learning that his real name is scientist.
No, I'm not going to say that. This is a scientist. I think maybe this scientist guy was maybe he's a non-vegan and he's just trying to get her to say, look, this use animals. So like those people who always say, well, you can't be vegan because this and this and this are vegan in your life, no matter what you do, aren't vegan. I'm wondering if he's that. I don't really know. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so he may not be worst vegan guy ever, but he's at least does the same things as he does.
Yeah. I mean, look, he's totally right. Like, of course, the DNA structure did come from animals, but you know what? Animals exist whether vegans are around or not. Like, it's not like we create, like, a lab created an animal and tortured this animal and then got the DNA structure. Like, animals were around. We're studying them. Scientists study everything, just like they do humans, just like they do vegetables, just like they do everything. And that is incredibly important. And they look at DNA structure for all that stuff. And we can learn so much from those, right. I mean, like, I would hope that scientists are looking at DNA structure and DNA of all kinds of different animals. So, the fact that we're mimicking this vegan protein off of the DNA structure of an animal does in no way make it non-vegan, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, I did think for a second about this, and I thought, okay, but like, could scientists, in theory, obtain that milk and the DNA stuff without doing any non-vegan act? Right? Some animal dies, and then they go get its milk after it dies. Would still be milk protein. We could still get the whey structure without, enslaving an animal or anything like that. So in this case, I think he's wrong about that. Because I think you could obtain that in an entirely non-vegan way. Now, that's
not to say that the scientists are not, having labs full of animals in cages. Right. Yeah.
I mean, of course, it's awful, and that happens. But it doesn't say that we vegans should just take that stuff and because that's happening, we might as well use their skins for leather and use whatever else and start doing all these non-vegan things. Right. But I was just hypothetically speaking, could this happen without any non-vegan activity? And the answer to me is yes, you could just get the milk in the way I described. So anyway, kind of a silly question, honestly. However, soon we're going to discuss the cultured meat thing. We haven't really gone into that yet on the show. It always seems like a little bit too big of a discussion for the goofy show that we try to run. But that one, in order to get the T cells or whatever, like that you need to do things that are fairly brutal. And I think only once, and then you get a whole lot of cultured meat from it. So practically speaking, very good way to get people to not eat meat while still getting to enjoy meat. But it's not really a vegan activity for that reason. I did not mean to play the Taco Bell sound. That was my...
Man, the Taco Bell sound is going wild today. We got Taco Bell going everywhere.
Screensaver came up and I flicked it on and I hit the Taco Bell button. I need a dedicated machine. Dedicated sound machine.
I will say, excuse me. Just because for people who didn't hear our other episode, just because it is a vegan product does not make it healthy. That's the course for anything, but I'm not necessarily endorsing or supporting the idea of like a vegan whey DNA structure, because I just don't know. I don't know. I'll have to play around with it a little bit and learn more about it. But I definitely think that this is an overreaction. And you should mention Dr.
Daniel Belardo.
Belardo agrees with us that,
Yeah, but she didn't really address in the depth that we just did because it was an Instagram story and you can't really do that in an Instagram story. So anyway, but yeah.
She came on Instagram Live.
That's right. And here we are. And on Twitch and on everywhere else. So you mentioned that vegan does not imply healthy. We have two good examples coming up for that in our stories next. But I do want to go back and mention, like, I'm struggling with that as well. I'm wrestling with that. That's when I ordered it. It was like, it's to try it. I'm curious, but I did some research actually. And last week, I think I mistakenly said that casein is part of whey protein, and it turns out it's not. It may be there in trace amounts, but casein, which is the protein in milk that in Forks Over Knives, at least, and some other work by Colin Campbell, was linked to cancers and tumor growth and things. And that was sort of the evil protein that was kind of came out of Forks Over Knives that was in dairy. And it turns out that's like, there might be some tiny amounts of that make its way into the whey, but that's a separate part of milk that then is separated with the whey. So it doesn't have that huge health risk. And I'm honestly not sure about the downsides of whey now without that in there. And so don't know.
Interesting. So I feel like this might be our first big morning show correction here, because we actually called out some articles for not mentioning.
No, those were accurate call outs, because that was them talking about casein in new vegan products where they purposely put the casein in. Because I guess it can be done.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, that's a good point. This would have been our first redaction, but no, we did not. Don't have to redact that statement.
Okay.
But anyway, so that's animal-free whey protein, which is a super interesting, thing, which is kind of what we try to cover here. So that's that. All right, Veg News has reported a couple interesting articles. First, they've got who was I talking to Lunchables about? Was that you recently, Doug?
Yeah, that was me. Yeah.
Okay. Once again, then we've correctly predicted the future, because now plant-based Lunchables are upon us. It's a nostalgic meal solution, been around since 1988, so nice little 80s nostalgia, kind of like Stranger Things, which I've been watching. Doug, are you into Stranger Things? Of course you are.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm new on that. Just started it, but I'm digging the 80s nostalgia. All right. I'm trying to find I can't find Mighty Yum is the name of the product. They look just like Lunchables, except they have animals on the packages. And it's junk food, right? It's just crackers and vegan meat and vegan cheese. There's not really anything healthy in here, but it is Lunchables, and I suppose you could argue it's healthier than the non-vegan version. I don't know if this is a good thing. Maybe we're going to talk about labeling laws and how that applies to kids and food in schools and things like that in a few minutes. Yeah. But like so many foods that we talk about in this podcast, not really healthy, but kind of cool that this is around now and you can get it in vegan version.
Yeah, so I love this. I'm so excited about this, and the reason we talked about it is we were talking about school lunches, me packing lunches for my 5-year-old, and how I was trying to get a little creative, do different things. She pretty much always has her bean salad and some fruit, and so she's got some like healthy stuff in there, and then I try to add something that's a little bit more fun. And I for a little while I was doing vegan Lunchables, or essentially vegan Lunchables, which was a little bit of the like vegan ham and some cheese and some crackers, deconstructed sandwich, and she was loving it. And so the fact, I will probably never buy these, or maybe like very rarely for a road trip or something like that. Maybe if they had it at the airport or something like that. I can't imagine actually, because I'm sure they're not going to be cheap. But I just think that it's amazing that this exists, because Lunchables are so nostalgic, and also I think they're practical for certain families and certain on-the-go situations. And,
definitely.
And to have that, the more options we have like this for vegan kids, I think the better.
Yep, definitely an area that is exploding is just all these random snack things. And another one, Good Planet, who actually I guess I shouldn't get into how they reached out to us, which is cool, but we're not going to have them on our show as co-host. But anyway, they have a new food. It's a plant-based snack pack. It looks a lot like those. Well, I don't know the name of these things. Those cheese things where you would get the little red stick and you would dip it in the cheese and spread that on the cracker. Okay, it looks like that. It's a snack pack. They don't have a red stick in there, and there's not even crackers to put it on. It's just one little part of the thing has almonds and stuff, and the other half has Good Planet's cheese in here. So I don't know, just another kind of nostalgic looking item. Exact same little rectangular shaped package.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. I mean, maybe we'd buy it at a convenience store if it was there, but I don't think it's gonna be in convenience stores. It's not really where you find this stuff typically.
I don't know. You might find it at like a 7-Eleven, or I don't know, like a Sheets. I don't know. Maybe like that's what they're trying to do, is like have that alongside the other stuff. Which honestly, this would be more practical than the Lunchable in my opinion, because it's got the nuts and stuff like that. Like I could totally see picking up one of these at a gas station for my kid on a road trip. I wish, however, that they were the red stick little cheese whiz spread things. Like,
need the red stick.
I would just be having those by my desk all day, every day.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what was in that cheese? I'm
Oh
surprised
man,
that
I
wasn't
do not
vegan
want
as
to
is
know.
because that stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, you
that's true.
can't
You
call
didn't
it
need to
cheese, whatever
refrigerate
that was.
it. Yeah.
Right.
So gross.
Yeah. So
Uh,
anyway, I mean, we've seen Beyond Jerky make its way into like Walgreens, I think. I haven't otherwise seen plant-based things in like gas stations or convenience stores. But hopefully, I mean, certainly that's going to be happening, right? 'Cause this kind of stuff is we're just seeing more and more of these things crop up. Uh, the thing for me, like these fake vegan cheese things, when that's the focal point of a snack, I'm just not into that. Like I like Miyoko's cheese. It's the cashew kind of ferment, and this isn't a health thing. It just tastes good and tastes sort of like rich.
mhm.
To me, these vegan cheese substitutes, they're never good. I mean, like they make it so you can have pizza when you're out or something, but like
Mhm.
it's not like these things to me are a really pleasant food, other than like just trying to recreate an experience. Uh, so I don't know. I'm not really
Yeah,
into
that's true.
eating
But
blocks
but
of plant-based cheese.
it's not like the Lunchable cheese was quality
No,
cheddar, you know. So
true.
like,
That's a good point.
I mean, it's kind of probably a little bit flavorless, you know, but it has the texture. It probably, I don't know, just is something to munch on. Like my kids, I mean, I don't even know what brand it is, but the sliced vegan cheese, you know, that comes in a slice,
Mhm.
like they'll eat that. Like if you just
Oh yeah, mine will
break
too.
it up a little bit, and you know, it's not very good unless it's like melted
Right.
on a sandwich or something. But you know, but
Right.
they enjoy it, so I
Yep.
think that's probably what
Mine,
they're
mine
going
are the
for
same
here.
way for the most part. One of
Yeah.
them at least. One of them doesn't have a taste for the vegan junk foods very much, which she never wants the Beyond sausage, which I just makes me sad, but she doesn't. All right, should we skip this Sonic rundown? How to order vegan at Sonic? I was going to talk about that one today.
Yeah, it's
It's
dumb.
it's French fries, tater tots, and pretzels. If you say no
Yeah,
more,
yeah,
that's
it's
the
like
article.
there was nothing exciting. I was like, "Oh, good." I mean, I haven't been to a Sonic in years, but you know, it's like, "Oh, what are they gonna do?" It's just French fries and tater tots. So,
Right. I thought, wow, like now we have another fast food option that we could try out. Uh,
mhm,
but yeah, it's nothing. It's just snacks. I guess if you were dying or something, you could
yeah.
stop by and get. All right,
We got some cheese comments here. So,
let's talk about that.
Jackie with the magic hands says most vegan cheese is so gross. Miyoko's does the best job. Janet Diaz says yes, true, but don't like vegan cheese like cashew cheeses, which I guess is
Yeah,
a vegan cheese, but
agreed. Yeah, but that's a good point. These that just seem like processed, mass-produced vegan cheeses. They're not good, but the artisan stuff, the cashew cheeses, those are pretty good.
Dale Stevens says, I think both are not good. I think Lunchables, or maybe both options, but at least these are options. And I think, you know, I mean, that's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah. All right, and then Deadwing says, seen the Beyond Jerky in St. Louis grocery stores. Haven't seen them in gas stations yet. No, neither have I. Shared some of it with a non-vegan friend. Yeah, gas stations. What I end up doing is getting potato chips. Some of those gas stations have like apples or something. It's nuts. Nuts is always a good choice. You can find that one. So anyway, I guess that's all there's to say about Lunchable like things. All right, on to more serious news, Doug. This is so that was really junky food we talked about. We're balancing it with a really good health thing, I think. And this is that the FDA announces a new definition of what's healthy. That's according to the Washington Post article by the same name. Doug, you just dropped your webcam or something. What was that?
That was my headphones, but we're good.
Okay.
Not the ones I was using. Yep.
Okay, good. So they're changing what's healthy in order to keep up with the times, right? Food packages like to put healthy on their package, of course, it's going to help it sell. But the rules by which they're allowing people to do that are somewhat outdated. I think it was last updated in like 1993, maybe. Could be off by 10 years on that, but anyway, it was more when fat was the vilified, horrible thing to have. Now, you know, people sort of tend to understand that there are some good fats and that a lot of these carbohydrates, which maybe used to be acceptable, are not so good for us. So they've updated that. The basic, understanding I have is like it has to have certain minimal quantities of healthy ingredients, such as like whole grains or vegetables and stuff like that, and can't exceed certain numbers of things like saturated fat, added sugar, or salt. And I think it's all a relative thing. So if you've got a whole bunch of the healthy ingredient, you can afford to have a little bit more of the unhealthy ingredient. I didn't find the exact rules, but that's the idea. And I think it sounds fairly reasonable. Some of the criticism is saying that like, and we know this more than anybody, like one person's version of healthy is not someone else's version of healthy. So what are we going to get by having the government tell us which one it is? Who knows? And hopefully they'll be broad enough. But I think we all know that sugar is not healthy, and we all know that salt isn't very healthy, and refined carbohydrates, saturated fat. I mean, these things they're not that controversial. So I don't think that's too controversial personally. The other side of this thing, though, is they're talking about putting nutrition labels on the front of packages, which is, at first I thought they were just moving the nutrition label. We all know what a nutrition label looks like. But they were moving that to the front. But it actually sounds a lot more that they're considering like stoplight system and a sort of this is good, this is bad, things that just make it very, very simple and very clear that this is not a healthy food for you, or that it is. And there's some precedent for this. A bunch of Latin American countries, including Chile, have done this. And they've put all these, very kind of like ugly looking warning stop sign labels that say in Spanish, excess calories, excess sugar, excess fats. And they're on like 90% of packaged products in some of these countries because that's just what these things are made of. So that's a big thing, is if that comes to this country. And all this is just like a proposal. None of this is happening right now yet, but it's being talked about. And I think it's a really interesting thing, Doug. I know you're a big fan of government intervention when it comes to politics and things like that. So I have no doubt that you're going to be in favor of this one. But I find it pretty hard to criticize as well. So we can get into some of the data and things about these other countries. But what's your take here?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's good. I mean, the more information, the better. And especially if it's not getting into specifics, because like you said, everyone's definition of what's healthy is different. And so, it's not necessarily a good thing for the government to say like, don't eat this. It is, I'm not, well, okay. I retract all of that, but basically, I think a red light system or something very simple for people to understand and process when they're picking something up, even if it just gives them, a subconscious kind of thought in their mind, like, okay, should I be having a second one of these, or this is my third yellow light product of the day. Like, is that really what I should be eating or choosing right now? I think that is a good thing. I did look up some studies on like how much the Surgeon General's warning on cigarette labels and that kind of thing has impacted cigarette use. And it looks like studies are very mixed. There are some that say warning labels, especially with images, have a bigger impact. But that information, like after those warning labels on cigarettes were added, it looks like the understanding of health risks was still pretty small. So, how big of an impact they had, it seems to be up in the air. Chile, you mentioned Chile, they do this on the front of their food packages. But what I remember also about cigarette packages is that it actually says, "Este tobacco te está matando." So like this tobacco is killing you. And I mean, that's powerful. Like that is a powerful statement.
Yep.
So, I think that there is room for things like this, that there's room for, the government to kind of step in and kind of help guide your decisions without actually straight up banning it.
Yes, I agree with you. I think we've talked about this several times in different contexts. I think the banning of things is generally not good. That's kind of overstepping in my mind, even when it comes to things, that are ethical issues like this, where I feel strongly about one side. I just tend to think that banning is not the way to make the change happen. I think it's just going to create anger and, inspire revolution and all this. So I don't think it's a good idea. But making things the default or giving people more information, making it easier for people. I know we've got to like make decisions. And like we said, we've got to decide what healthy is. So there's going to be some compromise here, but in general, especially kids, letting them know that this is not a healthy food, or even if it gets as whatever severe as like this is killing you, because that might be what kids need to hear rather than excess fat. But the stop sign is also that's a pretty strong image. So anyway, they've done this in like 12 Latin American, South American countries, including Mexico, where we just were, Doug. Including, this is not a Mexican country, but the flea market next to my house. There's this huge one, and they have a whole lot of Mexican products there, and they all have these stop signs all over. So I'm sure they cannot be legally imported, but I have a lot of familiarity with these products because I see them all the time when we go over to this place. But anyway, so Chile did this thing. They had incredibly high, I think it was like nearly 50% overweight or obese children and 3/4 of adults. So not good. And they were really at a point where something had to be done, and I think they still are. But when they did this, and this was not just these warning labels, but that was sort of the central part, the most talked about part. Also, what came with this is anything with the warning labels, I think, was like not allowed to be advertised on TV, perhaps. And I'm sure I'm butchering some of this, but like a lot of the stuff was not allowed. And if it had these same labels, it was not allowed to be sold in schools anymore or served in cafeterias. So anyway, the results somehow after 18 months of this, the consumption of sugar sweetened drinks dropped nearly 25%, which is like a huge, I mean, can you imagine how many people drink sugar sweetened drinks? The volume of the decrease to take away 25% of that, I mean, that's a massive thing. Now, a lot of it was replaced with diet soft drinks or fruit juices without added sugar, but like it's still better. It's still surely better than getting 50 grams in a soda or whatever's in there. So that's a pretty massive thing. I saw another article that said like the obesity levels in children hadn't actually changed yet during that period. So who knows why that would maybe not be happening. Maybe they're replacing these foods with something else or getting it else somewhere at home. Who knows? But it sounds like it does have an impact. And when all it is doing is informing people, I'm kind of good with that. I think that's probably a good thing. And I think it's clear we have a very expensive and sad problem in our country as well. So I'm glad this kind of stuff is happening, and I would say I am in favor of it. Yeah,
Dale agrees with you. Dale Stevens, no bans, more information, so there is informed decisions. And then Janet Diaz, this is a great point, and you were kind of hinting on this as well. Hopefully, companies will use healthier ingredients. I can totally see a company swapping out sugar for something more natural, or something like that just to get that warning label off there, so that when you're getting that drink, it doesn't have a big red light.
Yep.
And so kind of actually changing the products. And if we can have companies be doing that on a large scale, like that has potentially huge impacts, even if you're continuing to drink the fruit, I don't know, fruit juice or something like that, that maybe isn't the healthiest option, but if it's healthier than what it used to be, I think that's positive.
For sure. And that was one of the hopeful upsides of the new definition of the word healthy is that if companies put more vegetables into their stuff, which is, not that hard to do, you can find ways to puree spinach or whatever and put it into something else. Then that can help them, increase their health score or whatever, however it's calculated. So even if they want to keep their same amount of bad ingredients, if they're adding some healthful stuff, at least, on a per calorie basis, it gets better. So, yeah, I think that's a good thing. Yeah. I mean, of course, like in the Latin American countries anyway, like Coca-Cola, I think, strongly opposed this sort of stuff, wrote letters to senators, really did not want this to happen. So yeah, I mean, hopefully it's to me, that's a good sign, right? If the junk food companies really don't like this, that's good. Right. And hopefully what they will do is adapt and make their stuff a little bit better. Because, there's people are still going to want that stuff. So if it now is more available in better forms, then that's a good thing.
Yep. Absolutely.
Good. Okay. Well, this was a packed show, Doug. I don't think I'm going to get into any more topics, even though we had a couple that we might get into. But yeah, this was good. Any final thoughts from Doug? For those who are new to the show, Doug famously does a final thought.
Sometimes, although you've really been swiping that final thought from me. So yeah, and I mean, I think we kind of covered. I think that like what we talked about here, and this really probably goes back to everything we're talking about, from our tacos and what we put in our tacos to the vegan cheese and the Lunchables and all that stuff. The more access to kind of healthier options, the more people will choose healthier options. And I think that the more information we have about that, hopefully, I don't know, not a very good final thought, but I appreciate everything we talked about today, because I think it's all good stuff.
Good. All right. Well, a reminder, if you're here live, we have a podcast. It's called The Plant-Based Morning Show. It's on all the podcast platforms. And if you don't like listening to us on Instagram, you can do it on Facebook, or you can do it on YouTube, or you can do it on Twitch. Most of those, just look for Plant-Based Morning Show or No Meat Athlete, and you'll find it. But yeah, we keep adding new stuff. This is fun. My desk is a cluttered mess now of devices. They just keep adding. I have added a webcam.
Screens everywhere. You're probably seeing us look all over the place. But
yeah, there are wires everywhere. So we need to streamline that somehow. Like I said, I need an actual sound machine that isn't a separate computer, because it's just weird. But I do love the sounds. Oops, yeah. All right, then that's it. We will talk to everyone tomorrow. Thanks for showing up. We'll be back every weekday, 11 a.m. Eastern.
All right.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.